Good evening, everyone. I'm going to call to order this regular City Council meeting for the City of Richfield. It's February 25th at 7 p.m. If you're able, please rise and join us for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Next, we'll move on to open forum. I have one card. Did anybody call in or leave messages or anything ahead of time?
No messages.
No messages. All right, so for the open forum, participants can share comments in person, by voicemail or email, and may also request to participate virtually. For more information on submitting comments, refer to the City Council agenda and minutes page at richfieldmn.gov/citycouncil. We have one person who has requested to speak, and you'll have 3 minutes, so I'd like to welcome Kathleen Balaban.
What I gave you is the first page is actually a cut and paste from the city code, and it talks about the city council agenda. I'm not gonna, oh, I handed off the wrong stuff, so I don't have my sheet. Okay, I don't need it. Bottom line is, what I have attached are your agenda sheets for all of the council meetings in the beginning of the year to current. And what I'm speaking to in these is the consensus calendar and how much money is on it. And I'm primarily addressing the grant money as well as high-cost equipment items. But it's on the consensus calendar. And the consensus calendar you really don't discuss anything. You just say yes to it. And on the first page, on the council agenda, the last sentence says that the city manager decides what's on the consent calendar, and it shall be those which the manager deems to be of routine and non-controversial nature. Well, I find that these consent calendar items are more than slightly deserving some attention. They're $1 million items, millions here. And they're going into the future years, 25, 26, 27. I don't need to address each and every one of them. What I'm asking you to do is look at them, because we don't seem to have what I would refer to as in one area for grant funding, because I've seen job openings and they come from different departments and they're grant writers. So we seem to be working in a silo or some type of an environment where we're not communicating. And we don't tell each other how much dollars. And, you know, I'm looking at these $12 million things, and they're going into the future debt. We seem to be taking from Peter to pay Paul and sending Mary out for funding, and it's in these documents. It speaks to that. I'm asking you to be cognizant of what you're saying yes to without discussion and what it does to the future. I mean, look at what's going on in our federal government, and we're asking for more money. I haven't heard one thing out of the city staff that says, okay, we can cut this from the CIP, you know, our capital improvement plan, or we can do these reductions over here. We don't have to do these projects in 2025 or 2026. We can send them out to 27 and 28. We don't know what the future is going to bring, but yet we're still spending money. So I'm asking you to look at your code, see if you can put a parameter on how much goes in the consensus calendar where we can discuss it so that we can hear that you discussed it when we read and or listen to your council meetings. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who wishes to address the council? All right. Seeing no one else raising their hand or coming forward, we'll move on from the open forum. Thank you to the commenter. Next, we'll move on to approval of the minutes of the City Council work session from February 11th, 2025, and the City Council regular meeting from February 11th, 2025.
I move approval.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of approving those two sets of minutes, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? We've approved those two sets of minutes. Our next agenda item is a proclamation celebrating Women's History Month, and I'd like to invite Human Rights Commission Commissioner Maddie Vuxen to join me up at the front. So first of all, thank you to the Human Rights Commission for preparing this proclamation. This is a proclamation of the City of Richfield. Whereas Women's History Month is for celebrating the achievements of all women, including women of color, women of the LGBTQIA2S+ community, women of all abilities, and women of all religions. And whereas women of the indigenous nation of the Dakota people have lived on this land, now known as the City of Richfield, for thousands of years. And whereas President Jimmy Carter declared the week of March 7th Women's History Week, and later the United States Congress declared March Women's History Month in 1987. And whereas women have served courageously throughout our history in all aspects of our society and deserve to be recognized and respected for all their contributions, and whereas the City of Richfield was honored to have the first Latina mayor, Maria Regan Gonzalez, in the state of Minnesota, and whereas Melissa Paleman is the first woman director of the City of Richfield Community Development Department, and whereas Kristen Asher is the first woman director of the City of Richfield Public Works Department, and whereas the City of Richfield is in Minnesota's 5th Congressional District and is represented by the first Somali American Congresswoman, Ilhan Omar, and whereas the City of Richfield confirms its commitment to supporting and uplifting women of all races, abilities, and religions to ensure a better future for all members of our community. Now, therefore, I, Mary B. Supple, Mayor of the City of Richfield, do proclaim the month of March 2025 as Women's History Month in the City of Richfield, and call on the people of Richfield to observe this month with appropriate programs, activities, and ceremonies, and continue to honor the contributions of women Americans throughout the year. Proclaim this 25th day of February 2025. And then Commissioner Vuxen, if you would like to say a few words, and I think eventually they were going to get a picture. But.
Okay, perfect. All right, good evening, everyone. I just want to say thank you, Mayor Supple and the City Council for having me here tonight. Although this is my 4th proclamation, I'm always very humbled and honored to be here with the City Council, particularly on behalf of the Richfield Human Rights Commission. I would just like to make one quick announcement about the proclamations. I do feel that although they are really important, that we honor and acknowledge all the different communities and genders and religions that we have in Richfield, that it's really just an opening a door to more action that really represents our values as we go throughout this year. Thank you.
Thank you, and I think we hold it up. Again, thank you to the Human Rights Commission. Next, we'll move on to approval of the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the agenda. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of approving the agenda, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? And we have approved the agenda. Next, we'll move on to the consent calendar, and I will turn it over to City Manager Rodriguez. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. The consent calendar contains several separate items which are acted upon by the City Council in one motion. Once the consent calendar has been approved, the individual items and recommended actions have also been approved. No further council action on these items is necessary. I just have 2 items on tonight's consent calendar. Item A, consider authorizing the city manager and mayor to enter into a right of entry agreement with the owner of real property located at 7221 Lindale Avenue South for the removal of a privately owned dead oak tree by a city contractor. Item B, consider the approval of the 2024-2025 Law Enforcement and Fire Department Therapy Dog Grant Program. And I submit both of these items for your consideration as part of the consent calendar.
Thank you. Are there any items that council members wish to pull off the consent calendar for further discussion? All right, is there a motion to approve the consent calendar?
So moved.
I'll second that.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the consent calendar. Is there any discussion? All right, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? And we have approved tonight's consent calendar. Next, we'll move on to item number 4, and I'll turn it over to Councilmember Burke for the public hearing.
Council, number 5?
You're right. I looked at it wrong because, so number 5, I misspoke. Thank you for that. Go ahead, item number 5.
Thank you. So the item for council consideration. Public hearing and consideration of the adoption of a resolution specifying the use of funds from the Urban Hennepin County Community Development Block Grant allocation for 2025 and authorizing execution of a sub-recipient agreement with Hennepin County and any required third-party agreements. The executive summary, Community Development Block Grant, CDBG funding, is annually awarded to Hennepin County on a formula basis from the Department of Housing and Urban Development. The county, in turn, allocates a portion of these funds to the City of Richfield to address local needs relating to affordable housing, community development, and public services. The city has historically allocated the funds to the Housing and Redevelopment Authority for programming. Staff is proposing to use the city's 2025 direct allocation of $171,865 estimated as follows: $79,365 to the Deferred Loan Rehabilitation Program, $80,000 to the Single Family Acquisition and Rehabilitation, and $12,500 to First-Time Home Buyer Down Payment Assistance Program. The Deferred Loan Program provides no-interest 30-year loans up to $30,000 to low-income homeowners to address health, safety, and property maintenance needs. The Deferred Loan Program is administered for the city by Hennepin County. There's currently a significant waiting list for the funds. The HRA will work with a nonprofit developer to purchase and rehabilitate an existing home, single-family acquisition and rehabilitation. The rehabilitated property would be sold to a household earning 80% of the area median income or less, $97,800 for a family of 4. The First-Time Home Buyer Down Payment Assistance Program is aimed at low and moderate income first-time home buyers who are looking to buy homes in Richfield. It provides no interest, deferred loans of up to $20,000 to use towards down payment and closing costs. Anything to be added by city staff?
Councilmember Burke, Mayor, members of the council. I'm Julie Urban, our Assistant Community Development Director, and no, I have nothing to add, but I'm happy to answer any questions.
So recommended action is to conduct and close the public hearing, and by motion, to adopt a resolution authorizing, I'm sorry, my
Do the
apologies,
public hearing
to
first.
open it up for a public hearing.
Is there anyone here who wishes to speak on this matter in the public hearing? did we receive any comment that was sent in? So I'll ask again if there's anybody here that wishes to speak on this. All right, it does not look like anybody's coming forward to speak in the public hearing, so a motion would be in order to close the public hearing.
Also move.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to close the public hearing. Is there any discussion? All in favor of closing the public hearing, please say aye. Aye. All opposed? Okay, the public hearing is closed. So now it would be in order for someone to make the motion, and then we can ask if there are any questions or if there's any discussion.
I'll make that motion.
Could I clarify which motion you're making? Councilmember?
I would be making both motions to adopt a resolution authorizing the use of funds for the 2025 Urban Hennepin County Community Development Block Grant Program. And also part of that motion is to authorize execution of a sub-recipient agreement with Hennepin County and any required third-party agreements.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Now there's time for council discussion. Are there any questions for staff or any discussion? I do believe we've talked in the past that Hennepin County is changing how they're going to do this. Can you explain, this is the last year when we're going to be doing it separately? Could you go through that?
Yes, Mayor, members of the council, that is correct. I sent out a memo last fall detailing that the county was not meeting expenditure goals of requirements, I shouldn't say just goals, requirements of HUD, and so had to come up with a plan, and their response is they feel they can be more efficient by having all the money themselves and then offering it out in a request for proposals. They currently have some cities that they do that with, and some cities get direct funding, and they wanted to have it all in one pool and deal with it that way. So we will have the ability to apply competitively going forward, but we'll have to see how that goes. The HRA staff are currently in the process of evaluating all of our housing programs, and that's one of the things that we'll take a look at is how we might access some of those funds in the future. It's unfortunate we've had these funds since the late 1970s and done a lot of really great programming with it, so we're working on how to make up for that loss.
All right, are there other comments or questions? The motion is before us. If there's no further discussion, comments, or questions, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? And we have passed the resolution and authorized the execution of the subrecipient agreement. Next, we'll move on to item number 6. Councilmember Coleman Woods.
Okay, before us is an item for council consideration to consider the approval of agreements with nonprofit organizations to provide social services to the city of Richfield and authorize the city manager to execute agreements with those agencies. In November of 2024, staff distributed a request for proposals for social services to nonprofit agencies serving the city of Richfield for services to be provided in 2025. The 2025 city budget includes funding for organizations that provide social services that are deemed to be a benefit to the city and the community in general. The 2025 budget includes $91,800 for this purpose. A total of 8 proposals were received from the following agencies: Cornerstone Advocacy Services, the Family Partnership, VEEP, or Volunteers Enlisted to Assist People, Loaves and Fishes, Senior Community Services, Reach for Resources Incorporated, formerly Trail or Transportation Resource to Aid Independent Living, Uable Emotional Health, formerly Headway, and ICNA, or the Islamic Circle of North America. The proposals represent a wide variety of social services offered to Richfield residents. The organizations requested a total amount of $130,212, exceeding the city's available funding by $38,412. One Richfield resident and 3 staff members comprised the committee that reviewed the proposals and made funding recommendations. The review committee's recommendations took into account the type of services to be provided, the target population to be served, and past performance of the social service agencies. 7 of those 8 proposals were recommended for funding. The following table details the review committee's recommendations. Do we need to put that up on the screen? No. And first off, Cornerstone at $22,000 was the proposal request, and the 2025 recommendation was $21,200. Veep was a proposal request for $25,000, and it maintains a 2025 recommendation of $25,000. Loaves and Fishes, $8,000 proposal request, and it will maintain a 2025 $8,000 recommendation. The Family Partnership, $30,000 proposal request, and they will receive a $12,600 recommendation. Senior Community Services requested $10,500, and they will maintain a $10,500 recommendation. Reach for Resources, formerly Trail, requested $5,000, and they will receive a $4,500 recommendation. Ewable Emotional Health, formerly Headway, requested $10,000, and they will maintain a $10,000 recommendation. ICNA, or Islamic Circle of North America, received a request, or we received a request for $19,712, and they will not be funded according to this recommendation. ICNA is not being recommended for funding because its food shelf services are limited, duplicative of Veep, and not physically located in Richfield. A complete overview of all services to be provided by the various organizations is attached, and the recommended action is I move to approve the agreements between the recommended nonprofit organizations and the City of Richfield, and authorize the city manager to execute agreements for services with those agencies. Is there any discussion from staff?
Councilmember Coleman Woods, Mayor, and council members know I have nothing to add. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Do we have any questions for staff? All right. So if you want to go ahead and make the motion.
I move to approve the agreements between the recommended nonprofits organizations.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion?
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Just a quick comment. This is the first time being new on the council to see how the city is supporting some important social services, and it's great that the city is increasing in that support, and definitely appreciate definitely appreciate the efforts that these organizations are making, and it's really great that you're out there. So thank you.
And I see in the audience we have some representatives from those organizations, so I also want to add my thank you, and to anyone who's watching online for all the work that you all do for our community. It's very valuable and very, very appreciated. If we had unlimited money, we wish we could fulfill all the requests, so it's a really tough job trying to figure out, which ones we can and cannot fund. So thank you all, and thank you for the services that you provide. Any other comments or questions? We have a motion before us. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? And we have passed the recommended action. Thank you. Next, we'll move on to the city manager's report.
Nothing to report tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Claims and payroll.
I move approval of claims and payroll.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the claims and payroll. Are there any questions, comments, discussion? All right, hearing none. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? And we have approved the claims and payroll. So next we'll move on to the hats off to hometown hits, and we'll start off with Councilmember Hayford O'Leary.
Thank you. I just wanted to take a moment to thank staff. I submitted Richfield for a potential award or recognition from Strong Towns, the strongest town. And I did a lot of the writing for the application and the selection of pictures. But basically, Strong Towns is an organization that supports kind of traditional city building, by which I mean mixed-use development, walkable neighborhoods, streets that prioritize people outside of cars as well as in cars, and just good financial resilience. So a lot of people helped with this application, so I just want to thank them. I'm probably going to forget some folks, but Mayor Supple, our communications director, Kate Aitchison, Katie Rodriguez, Carl Hugh Miller, Melissa Paleman, and I think at least one of the directors. So whoever I'm forgetting, I apologize, and thank you everyone for your time. You know, even if we don't get recognized, it was just really fun to be able to write up all the cool things that we're doing, because it was, yeah, we're doing a lot of great stuff.
All right, thank you. Councilmember Burke, did you have anything? Go ahead.
Hats off to Public Works. They came out to my ward. There was a tree that needed to be taken down, and I was really impressed with how swiftly and thoroughly and just very considerately took care of the issue. And definitely heard it from a few of my neighbors also. So hats off to Public Works. So there you go.
Thank you. Councilmember Coleman Woods.
Absolutely. So hats off to one of my neighbors who I've lived on the same block of my entire life, who reached the honorable age of 100, Joanne St. Pierre. I was a little girl growing up on this block, so she's literally existed my entire life on my block. So I have the honor of presenting the proclamation on Friday as she celebrates her 100th birthday.
I thought that was really amazing that you've known her your entire life.
My whole life. That ages me too.
Well, that just means you're less than a century. That,
Yes,
I mean,
that's true. This
you
is
know.
true. This validates my age. Thank you.
All right, and Councilmember Christensen, you said you didn't have anything?
Well, this past week, I'd like to give a hats off actually to the League of Minnesota Cities. They hosted a wonderful 2-day learning seminars about different things about city council and leadership, and it provided a really good insight that to consider that what we're doing here in the city is really good, and we compared to small cities, to large cities, and we're pretty much all on the same page of how we run our meetings and things like that.
We all attended that meeting, or those 2 days of meetings, and I thought it was awesome to meet other representatives from other council members and other mayors that have been newly elected. It definitely showed quite a lot of diversity.
Thank you, yeah, and I appreciate the taxpayers funding that so that we could go for the training. That was really great. I want to do a hats off to Patricia Ibone, and she helped organize a visit from a group of powerful women. The Mujeres Latinas Unidas came to Richfield, and the police department did a presentation, and we talked about how all of the services that the city provides and the various programming that we do, and it was a really great event. So I want to thank Patricia and the Mujeres Latinas Unidas for joining us. It was a great meeting. I also want to do a hats off to one of our social service funding organizations that is now coming to City Hall. So Veep, the food shelf, has hours at City Hall now. Every Monday and Wednesday, they come from 10 to 1, and it's right out behind the information desk is where they'll meet with people. They can help people with past due rent and utilities, accessing food, and other general needs. So I thought it was really exciting that if someone didn't have transportation to get to their site in Bloomington, that they are coming here to us in Richfield so people right on the bus line can get to them. So hats off to Veep for coming to us and reaching out to people. So if there are no further hats off, I would entertain a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Second.
Well, somebody has to make it first.
Make them
So moved.
Okay, it's been moved by Councilmember Coleman Woods and seconded by Councilmember Christensen to adjourn the meeting. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? We stand adjourned.